Falcons former quarterback Desmond Ridder spoke publicly for the first time since the trade that sent him to the Arizona Cardinals. And he talked about the Raheem Morris comments where he said, if we had a different quarterback, I might not be here, how that affected him. Obviously, that didn't make him feel great, but Ritter's always been one to kind of just brush those kind of things off. Intangibles were the best attribute of Desmond Ridder. But one thing that stuck out and really was the sticking point of his entire conversation was that he talked about wanting to play more free. And there's a couple things I want to say with it, because I understand where he's coming from in the sense that he's not going to have the pressure like he did in Atlanta. I mean, he was forced in there without much experience to come into Atlanta where it was like playoffs or bust, win this division. And that's a tough thing for a quarterback. And trust me, you act like these players don't hear what people are saying, don't see what's on social media, everybody trashing him. He obviously probably felt Arthur Smith did not trust him, but he said in Arizona he's going to have the chance to play more free. That's true in the sense that there's going to be no pressure, but he certainly seemed like he played pretty free in the red zone for the Atlanta Falcons this past season, because the guy led the league in red zone turnovers and he could not help but force things that just weren't there. I mean, some of these turnovers in the red zone were mind-boggling. You think back to that Washington game, you think back to that Panthers interception where nobody was scoring the entire game. All you had to do was kick a field goal. The Falcons win that game, have a stranglehold on the division, and you throw it into triple coverage across your body, and you're like, what in the hell? That seems like you were playing pretty free. But the real issues with Desmond Ridder are the fact that his decision-making is terrible, and that's not going to change with playing more free or anything like that.
I wouldn't characterize it as forced. Desmond Ridder wasn't forced. He was gifted the starting job in Atlanta last year. Gifted. He did not deserve it, in my opinion, or at least didn't deserve the platter it was served on. I mean, there was no competition. Taylor Heinicke was brought in and then immediately told Falcons media, I'm here to back up Desmond Ridder. So like during the negotiation period, it was made clear it was Desmond Ridder's job. He was gifted this starting job. And I get your point about the pressure in Atlanta, and I would argue there wasn't that much pressure. There certainly wasn't that kind of pressure it is compared to this year. Like, yes, we wanted to make the playoffs, especially in a very, very weak NFC South. But if you had just finished the year strong and there looked like we were headed in the right direction with momentum to end the season, and even another 7-10 season, but you competed and you did things the right way, and it looked like the future was bright. Like next 2024, yes, I'm excited. I think it would have been fine. Arthur Smith would have a job. Desmond Ridder would have a job. The fact of the matter is both of those men shot themselves in the foot at nearly every turn. And Desmond Ridder playing more free isn't what you want to hear if you're a Cardinals fan, because you can point to everything that Chase mentioned about the actual turnovers, but the characteristics of the tell signs of like playing tight is like maybe underthrowing something or missing something. Desmond Ridder, like you said, was just making bad decisions. Like he was missing wide open receivers, but it was the decision making that really cost him in the end. It wasn't the fact that he was just afraid to mess up in my eyes. And, maybe Arthur Smith played a factor in that. I think you mentioned it that, he clearly didn't trust his quarterback, and for good reason. Nobody in the NFL would have trusted Desmond Ridder. So I just think, obviously, Falcons fans still scarred, still don't like Desmond Ridder, are going to, overreact to this. But I think it was a very poor choice of words for a guy who has done nothing but speak well in the NFL in terms of like a political standpoint. He's very good at the podium, coach speak, all that jazz. Like you said, the intangibles were the most impressive asset of Desmond Ridder, but this was a head scratcher.
I mean, I'll push back on the pressure thing. Listen, there's an incredible amount of pressure just for being a starting quarterback in the NFL, especially one with playoff aspirations.
It's comparative,
especially one that was, and this is a guy coming from Cincinnati. I mean, you want to talk about the whirlwind that you're going. It's not like he played at Alabama where it was just like constant media in his face at 24/7. I mean, he didn't have
Atlanta media isn't.
It's true, but it's still NFL media. Like it's a different beast. You're playing on a team that's contending for a playoff spot. There was pressure. And then even more so, you look at the later of the year, you're contending for a playoff spot, you're getting benched, you're getting brought back in, you're getting benched. is your job safe? You're playing for your job clearly now. So I think there were factors that definitely intensified that pressure that probably didn't even need to be there. And that's probably a big reason why Arthur Smith isn't here, because one, he gifted him a job that he didn't deserve. Then he played musical chairs when he said he wasn't going to play musical chairs. Obviously, we know about the top 10 pick. There's you want to talk about, you're right. You're right. Both of these guys shot themselves in the foot at every turn. I will give him a little credit because I think the main sticking point here is the fact that he's going to go be a backup. The same way that I look at Mac Jones, like, yes, Mac Jones isn't going to start for the Jaguars, but I think getting out of New England where he was just hated, kind of like Desmond Ridder started to being hated here. I think that just, if you looked at Mac Jones, the way he talked with the Jaguars the first time, it was a different person.
Yep.
Like, that was not the same person that was in New England. I think the fresh start and stuff like that is more what he's talking about. And there's no expectations in Arizona. There's no expectations for Kyler Murray to win. So God forbid Desmond Ridder comes in there and is asked to lead this team. There will be no expectations. Coming up after the break, who could the Falcons trade up with or trade back with in the draft?